Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're episode number 179. Today is November 2nd. My name is Craig Perales. Joining me after so many weeks, so much time not being behind the microphone in front of the camera, Mandrew Montemayor, my friend. I haven't seen you just as long as they haven't seen us.
Happy late Halloween.
Yeah, huh? So I just wanted to give out a big apology because this one's all on me. We've been pretty much gone for about 3 weeks, and it was just a big issue with my, and I think I was telling you the story, and I don't know if I told you the whole thing, but my internet has been down at my house since like October 6th or something like that. And to make a long story short, it just recently got back on to where we can finally do all this. And I know we did a couple of shows at my dad's house before, but it was kind of a pain in the ass moving all this stuff over there. My dad was actually out of town for like 2 weeks. He was down in Rocky Point. And I know we were talking about doing it at your house, but again, I mean, moving all this stuff over there, and I didn't know how long the internet was going to take to get fixed, and I would hate to leave all this stuff just like in your room for 3 weeks. So again, guys, sorry. It was supposed to be a week. They kept giving me the runaround. We had 2 people come out and look at it. One guy was talking to us about how they have to drill a new hole, add all these new cables. We needed paperwork. We had to get the landlords to get permission. And it was this whole back and forth. And I finally was calling him because we finally got it all. And I'm like, hey, can we get someone over here like today to get this fixed? Another guy came out here and he goes, you don't need any of this. And he fixed it in like 13 minutes. And I was like, you're telling me I've been wasting a month of my time? I mean, I couldn't play games. I was showing Andrew earlier. Like everything I needed like an update. We were able to do some streaming because Deandra's old routers here with her works internet, and it's fine for like Netflix and Hulu, but like I tried to do an update on Spider-Man 2. Unfortunately, I mean, I was able to beat the game, but the update was going, it was 1.5 gigs, and it's like, oh, it'll take 9 hours. So everything I wanted to play, I didn't get to play half as much as I wanted to in October. I was showing Andrew, I wanted to play Resident Evil 4. It needed a 2.5 gig update. That would have taken forever. So I don't know, kind of put me in a funk for a minute. I've caught up on a lot of shows. We'll talk about a little bit of them. But anyway, that was kind of the behind the scenes of what's happening. And then hopefully moving forward, there's no issues. And I know since we've missed so much content, you and I were talking like, okay, we got to start putting out some stuff. Because I was at the point where I'm like, do we just stop at this point? Because one of the hardest things is if you fall off the map, it's getting people to return and watch your stuff. You know, we don't want it to go, to dip down. So I'm hoping we can bring everyone back. But I was on the fence. I was just like, maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign we just throw in the towel. But I know, I think you and I both have a lot more to say, at least right out the end of the year and keep it going. So I don't know. I sorry that I put you through that. But I mean, at least you're back, and I'm glad you're still ready to roll.
I'll say it's kind of the same thing. Like we kind of hit a double dip because I was gonna like stream some stuff, but unfortunately, I kind of have some like medical stuff coming up that I've like been stressing out about and like really trying to prepare and like get my house in order. I don't have to do anything like crazy like emergency stuff or whatever, but it is kind of like a big deal.
You're missing for a while.
Yeah, so I'll be gone for like a little bit. So him and Geno will be doing the episode. So I've been like preparing my house and like getting all my financial stuff because I'll be missing work and just trying to get all of that stuff in order. So I was like, all right, I have time to play games and stuff, but I don't have time to sit here and set up all my streaming stuff and like sit here in front of this thing while I'm also worrying and juggling because in between me playing, I'm sitting here doing like other things, trying to get everything together. So that's kind of where we've been at, and it unfortunately just hit right at the same time.
Yeah, they're really throwing us. And this is coming off of me not having air conditioning for like a month, so
which broke again.
Yeah, which we were actually able to get done a lot faster and repaired a lot quicker. So hopefully the worst is behind us, and moving into Thanksgiving and Christmas, hey, finally we can catch a break. So, guys, again, apologies. Thanks for joining us, guys. If you're watching the YouTube version of the show, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. If you're interested in following us on any of our social media, which we will start being more active on, hit the Linktree link in the description. That'll take you to all of our platforms. And if you guys are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, check us out on the podcast platform of your choice. So, before we get going, like always, we like to do What Are You Up To? Where Andrew and I take a second, talk about what we've been playing, what we've been watching. I don't want to recap 3 weeks worth of things. So just quickly, what's a couple things you've been watching? And I think your main thing you've been playing is probably our main topic. So what have you been doing?
Yeah, so I'll skip what I've been playing. And as far as what I've been watching, I've watched 2 things recently because Halloween just passed. And I always try to watch like a bunch of different horror movies and everything. But I'm not a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, but I did watch that new movie. It was out on Peacock, and I don't think it was that bad. It was actually kind of cool and interesting. I just wish they would.
Because they invaded, right? It came out in theaters and it dropped.
I think so. Because I talked to Geno about it too. He's like, oh, we were kind of, he's like, it was cool, but even Grayson kind of fell out of it. Because in the puppets and the animatronics and like all that stuff is really cool. I almost kind of wish they made this a rated R movie.
If I'm not mistaken, Jim Henson is the company. I think they're the ones that did the puppeteering and all that.
It all looks really cool and really good, and I like the idea again because I know what Five Nights at Freddy is, but I don't know like the deep lore or anything. So it's really cool. But there's like another story going on with like the main person in between, and so it's like there's too much time in between telling like his story and what's going on with him and like the animatronics like jacking people up. That I would have rather seen more of that because that's what Five Nights at Freddy is than this dude's story. But I thought it was a alright movie. I'd definitely say get out there and like watch it. Like I didn't think it was like terrible.
Well, I was just reading to or listening to somebody. They were saying how they thought this movie was gonna like do terrible in the theater because it launched day and date, and usually when that happens, the embargo was like the day before. But it actually came out doing like 80 million opening weekend in,
it's a big name
in the
for
theaters.
Kids.
Dude, it knocked out a lot of other things that they did. I think it was behind like out of who did it? Peacock. It was behind like Mario and a couple other movies. It did more than like the last Fast and the Furious. So surprisingly, it actually did really well in the box office.
And I think that's people, and from what I was looking at, a lot of people really liked it. Again, the biggest complaint is just between the story and the action of what's going on, there's just too much of that other story that's kind of like interfering with...
It's like they do with like Godzilla movies. It's like too much of the humans and not enough of like, show me what the action is.
Yeah. And so other than that too, the other movie I watched, and I don't remember when this one came out, but I remember seeing it for a while, was that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. You didn't watch this, did you?
I almost did the other day, and I think I asked Andrew if she wanted to watch it, and she was like, she had no interest. I was like, and it was getting late. I'm like, maybe I'll watch it tomorrow, and then I kind of skipped it. I've been wanting to watch it. I showed her the trailer, and I don't think she had any interest in it.
It is a terrible movie, but like terribly good.
Good cheesy, okay.
Like, just go into it knowing that you're gonna have fun. Like, just I watched it with my little brother and Christina, and just going to it, like, just talking shit the whole time.
Good.
And so we're watching it, and I'm like, you know what, like, this is bad, but I'm kind of having fun, and it's just so funny, especially, too, like, at one scene, like, he's gonna, like, run over some chick, and the car's already moving, and you're looking at it from the front of the car, right, while Piglet's, like, holding her down.
Oh, so they drive?
And Pooh's the one driving. And then it cuts to the side window to where you should be see Pooh going. And he's like this and has to like turn his whole body because of the suit. But then the car starts driving. So it's clear that he was parked, even though it should have already been moving. And then it's just, there's a lot of weird scenes. And of course they go for some like, it's extremely gory. There's a lot of gratuitous stuff. Like he has this chick and he's holding her by her hair. And there's a wood chipper. Obviously, she's going to go in it. He tears her top off first, so she's just hanging up, boobies hanging out, and then throws... I'm like, well, what was the point of that? Like,
now I got to watch it.
I was like, that was so unnecessary, but the movie is... It's just so funny because it's so over the top and how serious it takes itself. And I think they made this movie with like a budget of like $100,000.
Yeah, and they shot like on iPhones or something.
And I'm pretty sure it cleared like $1 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Or at least like half.
Yeah, well, and I think I posted on Instagram. I'm pretty sure it was real. They had a photograph of who I think Tigger's going to be in part 2, and they showed like what he's going to look like.
Bro, and they're talking about like a whole like shared universe because there's supposed to be some like Bambi one and then like some Peter Pan one. That I'm like, I don't know where this is going. Like it's a shit movie, but it's a fun shit movie to watch. So I'd recommend at least watching it. Just go into it with an open mind, maybe like some drinks. Don't watch it by yourself because you want to sit there with somebody and just, that's part of the fun is just talking about it the whole time because it's just so, dude, there's so many scenes and stuff that I'm like, dude, I could have filmed this. It's so bad. But the most gratuitous thing that I'll give you a spoiler alert is literally it starts off with Pooh doing whatever and then it cuts away and it's literally almost a shot for shot remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, where it talks about like teens went missing and they're finding, and it does like the found photography or whatever, but it's talking about like the 100-acre wood and like going over all these like news reports of people missing and shit. I'm just like, dude, it's so funny.
Excellent. I definitely want to check that out. I mean, we might be done with October, but you're never too late for some Pooh Bears. So, was that everything?
Yeah. What are you up to?
Let's see. As far as what I was up to, I just watched The Fall of the House of Usher. It came out on Netflix all in one drop on October 12th. It's 8 episodes. A quick concept of it is to secure their fortune and future, 2 ruthless siblings build a family dynasty that begins to crumble when their heirs mysteriously die one by one. Now, this has a really good cast of characters in the show. I wasn't really familiar with the title. Once I started looking it up, and you and I were talking off camera, that I guess it's a collection of Edgar Allan Poe poems, novels, stories, and things like that kind of go into this cohesive storyline. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's like scary, but it's definitely like spooky. It's got like all these murders that are happening to all these kids. Is kind of interesting to see like how each one of them dies. It kind of goes over these different timelines of when these the two main ushers were kids to when they were kind of young adults until now when they're older. And this person playing Verna, which is Carla Gugino, she's kind of this person that's in all of these stories, and you're kind of figuring out, why is she here? Is she like a demon? Is she the devil? I recognized her from Entourage. She was Amanda Daniels, but she's in Sin City. She's Marvin's therapist. It's that chick. So she was in it. Bruce Greenwood was in it, who took me a minute because I usually recognize him without facial hair. And I could hear his voice, though, but he does the Batman voice for Under the Red Hood. So he's got that deep, nice, powerful voice. And then Mark Hamill actually pops in here as Arthur Pym, and they call him the Pym Reaper. He's like this surgical lawyer. So it's really, it's got a really good cast. I would say I was telling Andrew, it starts off stronger than I think it ends, because after a while, each episode is just how each of these kids die. So it's just kind of like, okay, I know this now. I know this is his episode. This is her episode. But it's really cool to watch. And if you're interested in Edgar Allan Poe or watching something that's they're hour long, so if you want to spend 8 hours of a pretty decent story, I would say check it out. Again, it's on Netflix. As far as what I've been playing, we'll get into our big things here in a second. But I just got Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which dropped on October 20th of this year. I actually bought it with the Nintendo Switch does like these game vouchers where, because it's a $70 game, and like Mario RPG is a $70 game, so you can actually buy these vouchers for $100 and it'll give you both games. So I pre-ordered Mario RPG and I bought Wonder. Now Wonder is actually doing really well. It plays actually really tight, because a lot of those old 2D Marios, or at least some of the more recent ones, Mario kind of runs, like, I've never liked the slipperiness of them, and this one runs a lot smoother. A lot of people are comparing it to, like, the golden age of, like,
Mario World,
Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, and things like that, and I would say it's on par with that. There's just so much more to it. I
love the elephant.
Yeah, did I send you that in the Snapchat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of new, one of the abilities to it, I don't think it's in any of the other ones. There's like a bubble Mario now where you can shoot bubbles and it'll capture people in them, and now you can use them as extra bounces. So there's a bunch of cool new stuff. They've added the badge system, which if you're familiar with the RPGs, they've done that before, but this one is kind of like, you can equip one badge at a time, and if you're, and some of them have different effects, so you can like sit there and do like a super jump. You can, if you're doing water levels, you can do like a dolphin run through. There's one that I just got where if you land in lava, instead of dying instantly, it'll give you like a one hit, so you can get out of there. So that's kind of interesting. One of the things I know a lot of people are clamoring around is that it's a full co-op, 4 local player co-op as well as online. Because there's even levels where it's like, if you can't do this level, because one of them is like you got to find all these things, and it's like if you can't find them, go online and ask somebody to join your game. And the other thing, it's got so many different characters. You got Mario, Princess, Luigi, Daisy. It's got all these Yoshis, Toads, and the Nabbit. And I guess there's an easy mode for kids, like the Yoshi and the Nabbit, like won't take damage. So you can actually, so Geno bought it and he's playing it with Grayson, and that way they can both play it, and it's kind of I don't want to say fair, but it's not as overbearing. I meant to show you this earlier. The world design on the map is beautiful. It's like these nice, I don't want to call them paintings, but it's like these very nice renditions of these backgrounds. It's got like this open world system to where, like, if you get to this certain point, there's like 4 different levels. You can choose which way you want to do it, and if you unlock certain things, like you can run left or you can run right. So it's really cool. It's got a lot of new stuff in it, and my only hiccup is I think this is the first game. Excuse me, my nose is a little runny. Without Charles Martinet.
I was gonna ask you that. How do you feel about the new voice?
I hate it. He's not. It's not that bad. But it's not
Martinet.
home, you know what I mean? It's played by this guy, if I got it right, Kevin Afghani. It's okay. It's not a deal breaker. It's a great game to play. I'm only on like world. I think I just beat 3. I'm going into 4, and I think you can beat this game in like 2 days if you sit down and just kind of cruise through it. So I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Just remind me to show you a couple things before you leave because I meant to show you before we do it. So that is what I've been playing, and it's been a lot of fun. So with that down and out of the way, guys, we're gonna get into our main topics, which we decided to kind of ease into for our first episode back, in almost a month. And Andrew and I just recently beat two, I would say, pretty big games that have came out in the fall here, and we kind of just wanted to give them a highlight. I don't think we're not gonna do any spoilers with them. Andrew just did Lies of P. I just did Marvel Spider-Man 2. So again, light reviews, and if you guys are curious about them, this is kind of our thoughts. So I just wanted to point out for Lies of P, and then Andrew, you can dive into it however you want. So if you guys aren't familiar with Lies of P, it is a Souls-like action role-playing video game developed by NeoWiz Games and Round 8 Studio and published by NeoWiz Games. The game was released for pretty much every platform, PlayStation, Windows, and the Xbox, and is loosely based on the 1883 Italian novel The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. I don't know if they ever say his name in it. Collodi?
No, they don't. But it does. I do want to point out, it does say that. It says dedicated to the memory and tales of
Okay, I think it's in the beginning of the trailer too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lies of P was received generally positive reviews from critics and has sold 1 million units by October 2023. A story content DLC and sequel has been announced for Lies of P. So Andrew, however you want to break it down, how it caught your eye, how you would compare it to Souls-like, how the characters are, how the battle is. Hey, take it away, my man.
I'll jump in right away and say I love this game. It did not pull me in at first. I was kind of dreading even wanting to play it because I'm like, I don't really want to play another Souls ripoff and be unhappy with it, because I tried the first Lords of the Fallen. I didn't like that one. I know the new one just came out that seemed like maybe it was better, but a lot of people said they still had the same problems. And then I bought Mortal Shell, and that kind of really didn't feel it either. So I'm like, I'm kind of done playing these clones that are trying to do something and they just don't get it. And this game, it just totally does. I would actually say, they say Souls-like, but this is going to be more closer to Sekiro or Bloodborne, because you don't get a shield. You can swap weapons though. So I guess that's what makes it more the Souls-like style, obviously, with the hard bosses and everything. And this game from top to bottom, everything about it is almost perfect. So pretty much they do their own thing. You do have your hard bosses that you do fight in the game, just like any Souls-like. If you die, you kind of lose your souls in an area. It's called Ergo. You have to go back and get them. They have a bonfire. It's called the Stargazer. But where they've kind of really made it their own is in the combat. It's a little Sekiro-ish, but your puppet guy has a arm. It's called the Legion arm, and you can upgrade it to do different things. So there's one of the first ones you start with. It's a harpoon, and it's really useful for if there's 4 enemies in a spot, you could harpoon one and bring him over to you, so that way you can just kill him and kind of thin out the herd. You can get one that does fire, another that lays mines, one that does acid. But I think more so what really makes this game kind of stand on their own is, even though it's a parry system what some of the other ones do, so if you're blocking just normally and someone's attacking you, you take what's called chip damage. So your health is here, and the bar without minus health, it'll be a lighter shade of red, will go down to here. So as long as you can strike the boss or the person and do damage, you'll actually regain that health that you lost, as long as you don't get hit. But if you got chipped down to here and then you get hit, then your health will meet it right there. So I actually thought that was very interesting. It kind of took me a little while to really get into the parry system, but after that, it just seemed the combat really clicked for me, I think, after the first boss.
Excellent.
As far as everything else goes, it's beautifully done art style. This game takes place, even though it's based on an Italian story, it's late 1800s Europe. I would say it seems more it's France, even though a lot of the people you meet are from the story, and so they all have Italian names Alidoro. Hold on, I wrote their names down right here. I just need to find where I wrote them all down at, because I lost my spot. Dude, where did I write everyone's names down at?
I'm gonna make them up. Vincenzo.
Oh no, yeah, no. Oh well, I'll come back to that anyways. But either way, it's a beautifully done. Every level, every area that you go, it's just oozing with aesthetic. It's really got that gothic horror. The main idea for the story, again, without any spoilers, is that puppets. It's almost like iRobot. People use puppets instead of like robots, and there's like a covenant that they're not supposed to be able to harm humans or anything like that, and they use them pretty much as like servants. That the puppets end up uprising against the humans and like slaughtering pretty much everybody except for, there's survivors here and there. And then there's also another disease that's kind of plaguing humans in this area that's petrifying them and turning them into stone. So it's kind of like a mixture of problems, and you're pretty much trying to get through and figure out what's causing the puppet uprising and to stop it. The voice acting in this game, it's almost like Dark Souls or like Elden Ring, where for whatever reason the voice acting is just like tiers above a lot of other things that you would hear out there. Like, it's done so well. It's so good. The music is really good. I just can't praise this game enough. I love it so much that by the time I was done with it, I'm thinking about going through and 100%ing it, even though it seems like it'd be just a little bit of a slog. But I honestly don't think I'd mind. But I would love to see, I know you said there's already a sequel, and I hope for more of this.
For one, yeah.
But I would love to see more of, like, maybe take like Alice in Wonderland and do something in this style. Like, it's crazy good. Oh, here's where I wrote down the names. So, like, Jiminy, and they do take a lot of the characters, and this is, again, from the story, not from, like, the Disney movie, or, like, in the Disney movie, the example I was giving him is the red fox and the black cat that are in the movie, and I'm presuming from the story as well, too. They're stalkers, so they're hunters, and a lot of the stalkers in the game that hunt things, they all take like an animal symbol as like it's a way to be, depending on what kind of animal you are, it's almost a symbol of pride. Like, the stronger you are, the stronger animal you take. So the red fox, of course, is chick, where it's a brother and a sister, so you run into them. Jiminy, it's pronounced Gemini, and he's like in a little lantern on your side, and so he kind of guides you around. Sophia's like the blue fairy instead. But then you have Alidoro's in here, who's another guy who sells you weapons. Pulcinella, the Great Davini.
Like a so
it's really, again, I can't say enough about this game. If you were on the fence about it, get in there. After everything I played this year, especially, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, I'm a huge Zelda fan, this right now is my game of the year.
Because you were on the fence about it for a minute, right? And it is on Game Pass, so that is kind of that's going to help it out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I did write that down on here, that this is a Game Pass game, so definitely get out there and try it. I was talking with a friend of the show, Talha Malik. He's actually playing it right now, and I was kind of giving him some tips, and he even said, he's like, as of right now, like, this is my game of the year. Like, just what they've done, and I wrote that down right here, is what I like a little bit more than the Dark Souls. And again, you played Dark Souls, so Dark Souls has this deep lore that you really have to look for, and they kind of have a basic story, but it is really strong once you really get into it. This has a strong story up front, and then it also has that Dark Souls, if you're reading all the items, reading all the different things, finding out about like serial killer puppets and other stuff like that shouldn't be able to happen, but somehow are breaking the covenant of the code that they set for them. It's just, man, dude, it's just one thing after another.
Is it weird that it took this long for a decent game to mimic or be Souls-like, you're saying? Because like you were saying, there's a bunch of games you were playing that like were kind of half-assed, where this one's like out of nowhere, like, oh, shit. Like, people were sleeping on Liza P until it finally got, like, 9s and 10s.
I even wrote down, I think it's criminal. This game has, like, an 80 on Metacritic. And there's some people who really... I was looking at some people giving it, like big outlets giving it, like, a 4. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're insane. I've seen a lot of people online, too, because I'm just, like, looking up now. I'm so interested in other people's opinions. I was watching a video the other day where this guy said, like, for me, this game is better than Dark Souls now. I'm like, man, I could totally understand that justification. For me, Dark Souls really hit first, and I don't think that this comes very, very close. But again, it's just so good, and I can't recommend it enough.
I was curious about the studio, too, and I actually already exited out of the page. Did you look them up at all? Did they make other games?
I did.
I haven't heard of them.
I wrote that down on here, too. NeoWiz, and I saw them make like one other game, but it wasn't anything big that I could see. There's no like Wikipedia page on it. So as far as I can tell, this might be their first like big game. So for them to come out and do something like this, they absolutely hit it out of the park. And they are a Korean studio too.
Oh, okay, good.
So I was like, we're kind of starting to see more games come out of there. And this game is like a masterpiece. It is so good.
Excellent. Is that everything you want to say about it?
Yeah, I don't think I really had anything else. Again, if you have a chance,
not spoiling it, but yeah, if you're on the fence about it, you're saying 100% dive in, baby.
Yeah, if you're on the fence, definitely get out there and get it. what did I? Oh, I'm actually upset now too because when this came out, I didn't want to start it and have to put it down because Assassin's Creed, which should have been the bigger game, came out I think like a week after, or maybe like a week and so. And I'm like, I don't want to get delve deep into this game, have to put it down, then do Assassin's Creed. I wish I just played this first because Assassin's Creed was like kind of whereas this game again, I'm 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 on it.
Yeah, because that was one of the things we kind of missed when we were talking about it. We missed a couple big things. We missed the Activision full buyout. We missed our review on Assassin's Creed Mirage. So there was a couple of things that I know we had coming. But yeah, I agree with you. Mirage was a game that I don't know, we could have just skipped it, to be honest with you. But
you would have been fine for it.
Yeah. I did want to point out before I dive into mine, because I had this pulled up, because sometimes when he's going, I'll click out of some stuff. I did want to point out that Super Mario Bros. Wonder actually beat a record, becoming the fastest selling Super Mario title of all time in Europe. So I think it sold the most in any game is done in like 3 days or something like that. So that was kind of cool. As far as the game I was playing, guys, I said it before, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Interactive, is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. It came out on October 20th, which was actually the same day as Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And I just wanted to point this out because it does follow, it's the official number 2 to Spider-Man from 2018, and the follow-up to Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, which came out in 2020. So quickly, just to catch you up, in this installment, Peter Parker and Miles Morales struggle to navigate the next steps in their personal lives while combating several new threats, including a private militia led by Kraven the Hunter, who transformed New York City into a hunting ground for superpowered individuals, and the extraterrestrial Venom symbiote, which bonds itself to Parker and negatively influences him, threatening to destroy his personal relationship. So before I dove into it, I did want to point out, because it did also hit a big record for itself as well. It became the fastest selling PlayStation game that they've ever had. So 2022's God of War Ragnarok was previously the fastest selling PlayStation Studios game ever, selling 5 million copies in a week. Before that, it was Last of Us Part 2, which was the fastest selling game, moving 4 million copies in 3 days. And Insomniac's 2018 original Spider-Man did 3.3 million copies in 3 days. And in 24 hours, Spider-Man sold 2.5 million. So in one day, halving what God of War sold in a week. So at this point, now it's become the fastest selling game out of Sony's first party studios, which I thought was super impressive. Now, I would argue that I don't think Spider-Man could have done it, right? Because I'm sure if anyone's going to do it, it's a title like that. It was just kind of weird for me to think that that's the game that knocked out God of War, that knocked out Last of Us, that kind of took the throne. So I was really impressed by that. So
well, I was gonna say I've been saying for a little bit that I think
I'll unclick it just so there's no funny business.
Especially after this, and maybe depending on how Wolverine does, I think Insomniac is slowly working their way to becoming the most important studio, and I think they might even pass
Naughty Dog and all that.
Yeah, Naughty Dog,
Santa Monica. Yeah,
I think they're past Sony Santa Monica. Honestly, I would put them just behind Naughty Dog as who they're like most important.
Yeah, they're one of these weird studios. I don't know how they're doing it. Even if 2018 was Spider-Man, 2020 was Miles Morales, 2023 we have Spider-Man 2, but but every year in between that they put out a game. There is no game came out in 2018 and then in 2020 we put out our next game. They put out a game in 2019, they put out a game in 2020, they put out a game in 2021. So Insomniac, for some crazy reason, is able to do a game essentially like 1.5 a year. So yeah, they've definitely got the work hustle. And I did want to point out just a couple of pros and cons that I have with this game, if you guys are curious about it, because I don't want to say too much, because hopefully on Saturday I do a full spoiler cast with the brothers' take on their channel. What's up?
I was like, jump to me when you're done with your cons, because I have one that I've seen that I want to ask you about.
Okay, cool. So I'll just get into a couple of things that I have with pros with it, and then I'll go into my cons. And the first one, and it kind of points out in the beginning, was the in-depth personal story. And I gotta say, this game dives much more into both of what is going on in these two characters' lives and what they have to deal with when they're not Spider-Man. There's parts of this game where you're not just playing, Peter and Miles whipping around town and, beating everyone's ass. There's a point in this where, Miles is going through a lot of frustration with his mother and his friends, because he's in the process of trying to figure out, his college. He has to do this college essay, and every time he tries to meet with certain people or get these these face interviews going, he has to miss some because and then they have to make up these weird excuses. And luckily for him, slight spoiler is that his mom now knows that he is Spider-Man. So at this point, she's able to kind of cover for him, and but he's just stressing out. He's like, when do I get a chance to do any of this? And as far as what Peter has to go through is that there's a really good scene in the very beginning of the game where he's going home and he's dealing with Aunt May's death. He's going to her bills and she's got 24 grand in debt that he has to come up with, and they're in the process of moving all her stuff out, and then he's also trying to balance his relationship with Mary Jane because he's living in the outskirts and she wants to live in the city because she's still working as a new reporter. So it's really cool because you get to see these two separate storylines in one cohesive game. And to kind of piggyback off on that, the ability for them to switch characters throughout the game is fantastic. The ability to, because you'll have kind of like this cell phone or whatever it is, and you'll use the pad and it'll pop up and there'll be certain missions that are just for Miles and certain missions that are just for Peter. And then there's kind of these joint missions that they can do. So as far as the storyline goes, I gotta say, it really dives more into it, especially with all the side characters that you're gonna meet, because there's gonna be characters from number one in Miles Morales that you bump back into. I won't say who particularly because I don't want to spoil any of that for you, but like that's gonna become an issue. If you've seen the trailers, you know that that Harry Osborn kind of comes in there, and you get to see this background relationship between him and Peter. So, and again, this game picks up, I believe, a year and a half after Miles Morales. So it's really kind of just fluid, and to me, it dove way more into like the friendship aspect of it. And then once kind of, the Venom symbiote kicks in and, obviously...
All 19 inches?
All 19 inches of it, baby. And when Peter gets it, you get to start seeing that separation between him and Miles. So now Miles is kind of confused of going like, why is Peter giving me the cold shoulder? Why does he want to hang out with Harry more? Why am I not part of his life? So you get to see that bond kind of unravel, and then throughout the game, you get to see it kind of build itself back up. So the story alone, I would say, because I love all of them, I'd say the story alone is by far the strongest out of the three titles so far. And the other biggest thing I got to point out is that the combat and the traversal system are fantastic. When you look at this game, it's added on a whole other part of a map. I wouldn't say it's doubled the map. I mean, it may be, but it's definitely a whole other point you can go to, because now you can go to like Brooklyn, downtown China, Harlem, all these different places. And the way they're able to keep it active and alive. So when you play a game like Batman Arkham Asylum or Arkham Knight and you're out in the streets, there's nobody there. There may be a couple cars driving around, but it's, everyone's inside for Christmas. This place is bustling. There's cars everywhere. There's people walking around everywhere. So it's nice to see what a next-gen system can do with people actually out in the street that's constantly moving around, because I didn't see anybody like loading in from a distance. I mean, it was all fluid because you're moving so fast as Spider-Man that there's no time. I mean, you would be noticing a lot of that clipping and things like that. And it was... I gotta say, it was pretty perfect to see how much you can actually see in the maps. And then the fast travel, I gotta say, is by far the best fast travel I've seen in any game ever. Now, with that being said, the way it kind of works is that when you have all these districts like Harlem or Brooklyn, they've got 3 different tabs of how much like you have to solve crime and do it. And so when you go from 1 to 2, 2 is what unlocks fast travel for that district. So you don't start out with fast travel, but the moment you have it, there's no point. So it's not like if you click a spot and it goes, oh, here's the Empire State Building and here's the Avengers Tower. It's you click anywhere on the map and you are there in a second and you're already winging in. I gotta show it to you, dude.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it's insane how fast this loads up and how you're just already into it. So it was really cool what they're able to. Insomniac blows me away with how much they're able to do with the next gen hardware. And then as far as the combat goes, it's extremely fun, but it's tough. I mean, me and Denny were both talking about it. Like, there's fights that are, like, when you're fighting the lizard, I don't want to call that a spoiler, that's in one of the trailers. Like,
right.
That's a tough fight, man. I mean, there's certain times where I'm almost like, do I have to turn this down? Now, if you're at it and you keep up with it, you're going to be able to do it. But what they were able to do is, in the first Spider-Man game, they kind of overloaded Peter with a bunch of different gadgets and moves. And in Miles Morales, they kind of really, really condensed it. In this one, they've done a really good job of going like your L1 is going to be your power. So like Spider-Man in this one has like the 4 legs, and eventually when he does the symbiote, he can do symbiote powers. And on the right are his gadgets. And then when you play Miles, his are all of his Venom powers, like his electric shock and his stuff. So
if you want a hard game, I've got something for you.
Well, yeah, that's a little out of my wheelhouse, but I gotta say, I think it's a very fluid balance between the combat, the travel, the storylines. Fantastic. I won't dive too much more into it because I got a lot more to say when we do our spoiler cast. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, again, check it out. But as far as the cons go, I gotta say this game, and if this wasn't particularly for me, but I was seeing a lot of things that people are saying that the game launched really buggy. People were getting stuck in walls, by no means is this Cyberpunk or Fallout 77, but
76.
Was it 70? Oh yeah, okay, 76. What I was reading is that if you pre-ordered the game like I did, the day one patch already came with it. But people that were buying it day one at GameStop, loading it, were getting hammered with a bunch of stuff. But I never really had any issues. I had one issue where I was fighting somebody, and I won't say who. And when they're running at you, it gives you a prompt to be like, try this new move, and it would never do it. So I just had to reset my PlayStation, and it ended up working fine. So I mean, unfortunately, I was reading that there's a lot of people that were having that issue, which I think is going to maybe tarnish this game a tad, because instead of coming out fantastic, it's going to have this kind of little hiccup on it. And then my other biggest con is there's certain character arcs in this game that I feel that's not the way they should have went with it. But who am I to dictate it? But there's certain things where I'm like, I don't like how that happened. I wish this would have happened a little differently. But overall, I got to say it's a must-play PS5 game, especially now that it sets it up for a number 3, and it's definitely tied in with the new Wolverine game. That's all going to be in the same universe. And what they do with the symbiote stuff, besides just introducing Venom, I thought was really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff they end up doing with some characters and introducing some characters that you would know from the comics. But when I was playing it, because our buddy Casey Court, I was talking to him, and he's like, I don't have a PS5. You can just tell me. And I was telling him about like this dude from this comics and this dude. We were having a good laugh about it. But you said you wanted to ask you something about when it gets to the cons.
Yeah, what's up with Mary Jane? She looks like shit.
Dude, that biggest thing I will say is, and they did do a lot of differences. If you guys are familiar with Peter Parker from the original number 1, it's a new...
yeah, they redid it.
It's a new model.
With the remaster.
Yeah, but if you've never played the original one, now, moving forward, it'll always be the new person. But as someone that played the original one, I'm like, that's not the same person. It's funny how much they've nailed right, but all their faces are like, they never blink. And they always have these like smiles on them, so it's weird that the faces are always kind of off. And for some odd reason, dude, Mary Jane took it the worst, man.
She just looks like older, and I've seen people's comparisons from like 1 to 2. She looks like she's like way older. She's not like attractive, and I'm not saying she needs to be like a smoking hot 10 out of 10. But when you have Felicia Hardy in there as you're competing for a love interest, she's way more attractive than she is. But I was on this like forum. And someone's like, why does every girl have to be like a 10 out of 10? Mary Jane's never been blah, 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 blah. And then someone literally just posted like the Tiger, you just hit the jackpot, where she's like all feeling herself and how attractive she is.
My whole background is banging Mary Jane with Black Cat next to her. So yeah.
It's like, that's literally what she is. Like, I'm not saying she needs to be like a 10 out of 10 model or something, but
which in the comics she was.
She looks like she's like touching 40.
Yeah, it's weird what they
did
with red hair
her.
Though. And maybe they'll do a patch. Nothing a quick patch can't fix. But yeah, I did find a little jarring that Mary Jane. I mean, again,
that's the only person to me that I was like, you look terrible.
Yeah, surprisingly, who I think it looks the best is, I love what Miles Morales looks awesome. I think throughout the game he looks the best. And dude, there's so many different suits you can collect in this game.
I've seen that.
And dude, and you can do so much good stuff. So
I like how he has like his dunks on.
Oh, dude, I was trying out all of them. There's a cool thing in the game where you can unlock the Into the Spider-Verse outfits, and when you're moving, it actually moves kind of like how the movie does.
Oh, that's cool,
dude. And you can turn on the comic book thing. So when you beat him and you do a finisher, it'll be like twit, quack. And it'll pow and things like that. So,
well, I'd like to insert that. And I was going to say, since you just brought that up, for any of you who haven't seen it, because I just started watching it, they just added Into the Spider-Verse on Netflix on Tuesday.
But well, yeah, so Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse are both on there now.
Into the Spider-Verse is the first.
Yeah, and then Across is the second one.
Across
Yeah.
Excuse me. Across is the one that I meant. Across Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Part 1.
Geno was saying that the other day too, and he was like, "Wait, I'm like, no. Across is the second one." I'm pretty sure. So, that's what I gotta say about Spider-Man, guys. Definitely check it out. But before, the reason I wanted to bring these two up, or at least wanted to talk about them, because we got to show them a little love. And what I wanted to get to is, and if you guys were looking at the thumbnail, is do these games have potential to be Game of the Year material? And when I say that, I don't mean it against every outlet that's going to do a Game of the Year. You know, we usually just like doing the Jeff Keighley at the end of the year Video Game Awards. So, with that being said, I just wanted to, if you guys are watching the YouTube, you'll probably see something pop up right here. But I just want to point out this year was stacked. And if you were looking at a 5 to 6 spot, which is usually what you get, there's a lot of stuff on here. So let me just point out a couple of these. And then Andrew, kind of tell me what you think. I think Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 maybe still on the fence. I know a lot of people are questioning if a remake should be considered.
I think 4 is going to be on there for sure.
Game of the Year. But with that being said, there's still Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Hi-Fi Rush was a surprise hit. You'd be a fool if you're not following how much heat Baldur's Gate 3 is getting, and people are saying it's one of the best RPGs ever. Star Wars Jedi Survivor still came out. Metroid Prime Remastered. Clearly, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be on there. Armored Core 6 did extremely well. Diablo 4 came out. Sea of Stars. I'd consider probably Starfield is still going to be a game on there. A lot of people are praising Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Alan Wake 2 just came out of nowhere and is getting 9s and 10s. Octopath Traveler 2. Hogwarts Legacy. So there's still a ton of games. I mean, I wouldn't know if I'd go Assassin's Creed Mirage, but it was still a big game that was dropping. So I was curious to ask you, Andrew, do you think if there's 5 spots at the end of the year for this, do you think any of these two are making it? Because I was looking at, this wouldn't be my list per se, but I'm looking at it going, I think clearly Zelda and Final Fantasy 16 are going to be on that for sure. I think Baldur's Gate 3 has a strong chance. I think Starfield still has an outside chance. And I think there's probably still a spot open. And I'm not saying Your Gamer is better than the game I played, but I think Lives of P might fall through the crack just going up against a name called Spider-Man 2. So I think Spider-Man 2, if it does, would have the better shot. But do you think it deserves to at least be in consideration up for nomination?
I would like it to. I mean, I'm always so happy the one year that we did go, Sekiro won the Game of the Year, which was so unexpected. But I think that it should be up for nomination.
And then you have Elden Ring last year, and then you get another. So it seems like Souls-like would be dominating, and that would be kind of, I don't want to say an upset, but that would be extremely interesting. You
would consider it almost an upset because it is the lowest of the tier. I think Resident Evil for sure is going to make it, and I want to say that that's almost like the saddest thing. Hopefully they add a new category this year and do like best horror game, because there's been a lot of amazing horror games, but I think Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to be the one that's on there. So I think people are going to be like, okay, well, since that's on there, maybe let's not include Dead Space, or let's not include
Dead Space was so awesome,
let's not include Alan Wake 2, because we already have the horror game. Final Fantasy 16 for sure is going to be on there. Zelda's for sure going to be on there. And Baldur's Gate 3 is for sure going to be on there. So I don't, how many do they do, 6 or 5?
Some years it's 5, some years it's 6.
So then that would be Diablo and Baldur's Gate. And
Starfield still is going to be on there. I mean, we're skipping. Hogwarts Legacy, for as backtracked as it was on the old hardware, it ran fantastically and beautifully on the next gen.
Even hardware. Jedi Survivor, I love that game this year.
So it's so weird because some of these games came out so early in the year. Like Jedi was, I think, somewhere around March. Hogwarts was somewhere around there as well. Obviously, Dead Space and Resident Evil were January, February,
right
March.
Out the gate. Yeah.
So it's like this year was just so packed. I completely forgot. I thought Metroid Remastered came out because you beat that, right? This year?
No, you're thinking of the other Metroid.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't Fusion, but I forgot what it's called.
I was like, I could have sworn that one was in the past, so that one probably wouldn't make it. But
even still, a lot of people clamor for like Armored Core, and I know that's something we didn't play.
Yeah, good reviews,
and that's made by From Software.
Pikmin 4 came out. Everyone's saying it's by far the best Pikmin, which has a huge following.
Again, this has been a crazy strong year for games that honestly I'm not sure. I think what I've named are for sure going to be nominated, and there might be wiggle room for like one more. I don't know what it would be though. So because it could be Starfield, it could be Spider-Man.
Over under 30%.
Could be Jedi.
Liza P was going to be on there.
I would say under. I don't think it will be nominated. I think Spider-Man 2 would take it before Liza P, because Spider-Man is for everybody. Liza P is not.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. When you have these lists, obviously it's kind of voted on, whatever, but those lists aren't for everybody. Because like I said, that list, that's not going to be my list at all. Like Starfield won't be on there. If I can beat Zelda in time, that might be on there. But like
I played Diablo, and Diablo's not on mine.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think we played 2 good games that at least deserve the recognition. I think Spider-Man was on everyone's list. I think Liza P was skating under people's list, and at this point, if you're into the Souls-like, it's definitely worth checking out.
It's under the radar, and it's blowing up. A lot of people are finally like getting into it, and so I'm already glad. Again, in 1 month, a studio that nobody knew nothing about, a game nobody really kind of knew too much about, except for the couple trailers, sold 1 million copies in a month, and who knows how many people will play this on Game Pass.
Yeah, so guys, leave us your thoughts down below. What you've been playing, what you've been up to, if you've been following Spider-Man 2, if you've been playing Lives of P, let us know your thoughts. So I did want to do one question before we leave, and because you guys have been writing them in, but we'll squeeze this one in before we go. So if you guys want to get to questions of the week, you guys can do so a couple of different ways. You can leave a YouTube comment down below, and we can take it there. You guys can email us at lastcallproductions@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media at Craig Perales, and I can take it there. And this question comes from Jason Wright, and he says, "Hey fellas, besides video games, do you guys play any board games or things like that? And what's your favorite? My family always plays Monopoly around Thanksgiving, so I'm looking forward to that pretty soon. Thanks." Dude, Monopoly's dangerous, man, and I don't know if a cheery family event is where you want to do it, because that's always something. Monopoly is there's certain games that are the all-time classics, the all-time staples. I love playing Monopoly, but I wrote a couple down. Do you want me to go first, and if you want to think of one, or do you have any out the bat you want to name?
I've really just got 2, like the 2 that usually we play. And I mean, the first one's not a board game, but I guess if you're saying stuff like that,
stuff like
would
that.
be like Uno. Uno's like a big thing for like me and my family.
That is so weird. Earlier when I was thinking, I'm like, I wonder if Andrew's gonna throw down Uno, because I remember you always kind of like talk about it.
I love Uno to death. Like that's one of my favorite games. Like, and now we have the more competitive Unos where I even bought one where it's like a flip deck. I don't know if you've played that one. So like, I could see that you only have one card left, and I can see what the other side of that card is. So if I have the thing, you flip it over, and so you're playing the other sides of the cards now, too. Oh. And they do different things, and they have, like, different rules, or there's one that'll be, like, skip 2, and there's all kinds of weird stuff on it. So it's really, really cool. And then my other big board game that we always play is Sorry. But we do it differently, though.
Ooh, so house rules, huh?
Yeah, when we play Sorry, obviously, you have to go around the board unless at the start, if you're just fresh out, you get a 4, which you go back 4, so that would put you past towards the end where you need to go in. So of course you can go in there. But what we play is, let's say, I think it's Sorry, it's like 5, it's like 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the top one is your entry spot. If you pulled a 10, or like let's say you need a 2 to win, you're 2 away from winning on that safe spot where you can't get hit, and you pull a 10, we play, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have to start moving backwards on the board. So someone could then get a chance to steal your space, bump you off as they're coming around or something like that, instead of where people before, like if you draw a 10, you can't move 10. You're like, okay, that's my turn. It's your turn. So we do that.
I haven't played soccer in so long. I wouldn't even remember that.
Oh, well, yeah, that's how it is. At the end, you're in a little safe spot, and there's like 5 or whatever. So we play that if you draw too many, you have to move whatever it is no matter what. So you have to go forward, and then if you end up coming back out, somebody could come back around and knock you out back to the beginning or swap spaces with you or whatever like that.
You have to say sorry?
To make it, to make it more competitive and to make it more fun.
Nice. The game I wanted to throw out, because like if we're doing a couple cards, a game that we all really got into was a DC deck builder.
I thought you were gonna say. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah, because Andrew's got a couple boxes. I got a couple boxes. It's essentially a DC comic book card game, and I love it. Yeah, I can't dive into all of them, but there's different boxes of Teen Titans. There's bad guy versions. There's the classic versions. That was a game we all played. You, me, Geno, Denny. Lane would come over and play it.
Even Christina was
playing it. All the girls like playing it as well. So that was a good one. If you haven't checked it out, that's kind of more on the nerdy side.
Easy to pick up though, and very, very fun.
Yeah, I like playing Bones. If you're into like actually how dominoes should be played, that's always a lot of fun. But my board games would be Risk is always one that I like playing. I've had epic matches of Risk, and I'll take any. I used to play.
I've only played it like once.
Oh, dude. I think I have the Halo one.
You do have the Halo one.
If you ever want to play it, we should give it a go. And then there's a game called Mastermind that my parents showed me way back in the day, which is this. have we played it? It's like the color pegs, and you have to guess someone's code.
No.
So there's 4 spots, and you flip it over, and you do it. It's like, let's say there's 8 colors. You put it there, and then they've got X amount of times to try to guess it.
No.
And so it's a lot of fun. So I like kind of like the strategy guessing kind of game. But there's still old. Do you remember like Don't Wake Daddy?
Yeah.
And Mousetrap and things
honestly,
like that?
actually, over the past like few years, my family's really gotten to playing Clue.
Oh, dude.
So we'll have like a full table of people playing.
I would love to play a new school game of Clues. Though.
Yeah, usually we get Clues like more of like a Thanksgiving, Christmas time. So that's kind of what made me think of it. It's like about that time of the year where we always kind of
we need to start doing a Halloween Clue, solve a nice little murder mystery.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
So thank you for the question, and guys, leave your favorite board games down below. I thought we were gonna do a little quick episode, but we actually did a nice full banger. So guys, that is the end of episode 179. Guys, join us next time for episode 180. And until next time, guys, my name is Craig Perales. This is Mandrew Montemare. Cheers.
See ya.